Hi guys, this is Tablet-News.com and I'm here with a tablet called ASUS MeMo Pad 7 ME572C. It's an elegant follow-up to the MeMo Pad 7 HD, and this model was unveiled at IFA 2014, so in September. This means it's a brand new product. There is also the ME572CL version with LTE on board, and the price tag of this model is $280, which is a bargain considering the features you get. The design of the tablet is inspired by clutch bags for women. It's simple, minimalistic, and it feels basically like a new Nexus tablet, so yes, that's a compliment. We have good grip thanks to this nice texture here, and the tablet is very comfy to hold even with one hand. So if you're e-reading or playing a game or watching a movie, and by game I mean something like Temple Run that can only require one hand, it's very comfy to use. The tablet comes in red, black and champagne rose. It also has a dotted back area, and if you look at it from the front, its general format reminds you of a Nokia Lumia styling, which is also a compliment. The thickness is 8.3 millimeters for this new ASUS MeMo Pad 7, and it weighs 269 grams. It has rounded edges, as you can see. And other stuff for mentioning is that it's made of plastic, but it's solid plastic, and the tablet adopts a long and narrow format that sits better in landscape, if you ask me, than in portrait. Up front, you can clearly see that we have very big bezels, both at the bottom and top and on the sides, and we have the front camera right here, and everything is covered in glass on the facade, aside from the parts that overlap with plastic from the sides. Okay, so other than the big bezels, the design is very good. So that's the front side with the screen and front camera. We move to the back, where we find the main camera and the ASUS logo. At the top we have the audio jack and one of the speakers, while at the bottom lies the other speaker and the micro USB port for charging. Now on the left side we find the microSD card slot, while on the right side we have the on-off button, volume buttons, both with good feedback, and a mystery hole below the on-off button right here. I would have to say that in spite of the big bezels, the ASUS MeMo Pad 7 ME572C offers a very elegant and very good looking design. Now we move on to the hardware. What we get here is a 7-inch tablet. The screen is a 7-inch IPS screen with support for 10-finger multi-touch and a resolution of 1920 over 1200 pixels. It also has an anti-fingerprint coating, and the CPU inside the tablet, well, this one is a 64-bit processor. It's an Intel Atom Z3560 quad-core clocked at up to 1.83 GHz. Inside the slate you can find 2 GB of RAM, also 16 or 32 GB of storage, and finally you get 5 GB of ASUS web storage in the cloud for a lifetime. The GPU here is a PowerVR Series 6, a G6430. Other specs include a microSD card slot with support for up to 64 GB of extra storage. We have a front 2 megapixel camera, and the back cam is a 5 megapixel shooter. On the connectivity side, there's Wi-Fi 802.11 BGN, there's Bluetooth 4.0 on this model, there's Miracast, GPS and GLONASS, all available here. We got stereo speakers, one here and one here, and we got the G sensor, light sensor and e-compass. The battery on this model, it's a 15 watt-hour lithium polymer unit. On paper, ASUS promises us about 11 hours of functioning time, and in real life, in our test, the 15 watt-hour lithium polymer battery achieved 10 hours and 14 minutes of HD video playback. So let's check that out. We obviously have screenshots to show you, and here we go. As I said, Wi-Fi was on, brightness was at 50%, and during a loop of HD video playback, we achieved 10 hours and 14 minutes on battery, which is quite good. If you consider Nexus 7 2013 achieved 7 hours, the LG G Pad 8.3 7 hours and 40 minutes, and the Xiaomi Mi Pad also 10 hours, I would say we're doing quite fine. This is about the same performance as the ASUS MeMo Pad HD7, if you want a predecessor for this model, and the charging is kind of long. It takes 3 hours to charge the battery from 0 to full on this slate. There are obviously some power saving features here, so if you go to the power management area, there are two things you can access. There's Power Saver, that offers you 3 modes to save power. There's Ultra Saving mode that will disconnect the connectivity when the device is in suspension mode. Then there is the optimize mode that gives you both connectivity and power saving, and finally customize mode that allows you to tweak the brightness of several tasks like reading emails, books, watching videos, listening to music, browsing, Skyping and other stuff. So you can customize your power saving mode. You can turn all of them off, and then there's the power consumption table that shows you which apps eat the most out of your battery with a statistics base that feels pretty useful if you're really a freak of batteries. Okay, that's the power saving, that's the battery performance. I would say this is a good battery. I've achieved about 1.5 days of regular usage, and as I said, 10 hours and 14 minutes is a pretty impressive time to play video on the Slate. Too bad for the long charging. Now we move on to the acoustics. We have Sonic Master stereo speakers here, and the music app is pretty straightforward, as you'll see as I find it. So let's look for the music app. Here we go. Music app, minimalistic interface suited to the Zen UI experience, and in the settings area, if you look closely, you'll find fine-tune audio settings, which is basically the stock equalizer from Android, nothing fancy. Now let's get to the speakers itself and listen to a tune. Okay, now some conclusions. We have a deep sound, good bass, loud acoustics, good percussion, and a very clean sound. So overall it's very impressive, and I would have to say that the sound is very loud, especially in games. I played all the titles I tried on this tablet at about 30% the volume because it's simply too loud. There is also something here called Audio Wizard, and that something can be activated during your acoustic experience. This is it, Audio Wizard. It tweaks your acoustics. You can also deactivate it. We have a smart mode, music mode, movie mode, recording mode, gaming mode, and speech mode. So let's go to the player, start the tune, and tweak it using those features. And that's the sound with the option off. You can clearly feel something's changed. Overall, I'm very impressed by these speakers. Usually ASUS cooperates with Bang & Olufsen, and then that can be felt here in case they did it again. The acoustics are very good. I consider them to be above the one of the iPad mini and iPad mini Retina and the LG G Pad 8.3. I'm not sure this model beats the Nexus 7 2013 that had very good speakers as well. We also tried out the acoustics with a Decibel Meter, as you'll see in a minute now. And this is what came out. The back of the tablet shows us a value of 82.7 decibels and the front 81.8 decibels. Meanwhile, the Xiaomi Mi Pad achieves 84.2 decibels, so it's a bit better. And I would have to say that the acoustics on this ASUS MeMo Pad 7 tablet are excellent for the price you pay for it, which is around $280. Now we move on to the screen. This is a 7-incher. It's an IPS LCD with LED backlight and 1920 over 1200 pixel resolution, 10-finger multi-touch. And as far as I know, there is no pre-installed video player on the device, so you have to rely on the gallery for your video playback needs, which is what I'm going to do, and trigger this sample and check it out in order to see what the screen can do. We have great viewing angles, I'll give it that from the start. So yes, great viewing angles, typical for an IPS. Both vertically and horizontally. Other than that, we also have a bright and crisp experience. The image is very clear. I would have to say I'm surprised by the realistic colors, very good colors, also vivid and also realistic. Contrast is good. We have RGB striped pixels. and everything is sharp and crisp. Now let's check out the Lux Meter. We always use a Lux Meter and test the brightness. Here we go, 420 Lux units. Meanwhile, the Nexus 7 2013 achieved 508, so we're below it, but we beat the LG G-Pad 8.3 that had 260 Lux units. We also beat the ASUS MeMo Pad HD7 that had 330 Lux units, and finally we beat the Xiaomi Mi Pad that has 310 Lux units. So the screen is good, yes, very good, bright, and it's also customizable, as you'll see in a minute. So if you go to the settings, right about here, press display, you can tweak the brightness. There's also automatic brightness included, sleep, daydream, font size. There's also personalization, and finally reading mode. So if you activate reading mode, there are two sub settings. The first one, image and text, that makes the screen yellowish, and this one even more yellow and less of that synthetic white, so it won't hurt your eyes after long periods of reading. But there's more. You can customize the screen even more using a specific app. It's called ASUS Splendid, and I should be able to find it in this huge amount of bloatware that we got here. So here we go, Splendid, ASUS Splendid. You can tweak the temperature with a special vivid mode, and you can play with the color temperature, make it warmer or cooler, or reset it, and then you can play with hue or saturation enhancements like this, and once again reset it. Okay, so overall the screen is great, no complaints here, and the brightness is pretty impressive at 420 Lux units. Now we switch to the camera. At the back we have a 5 megapixel shooter, at the front we have a 2 megapixel shooter, the back one has autofocus, and there are lots of features that it comes with. So let's get this castle here, use it as our muse, and see what those many options are. Okay, so on the left side we have the front camera shortcut. We also have the effects that include the likes of grayscale, negative, sepia, hue, Lomo, pixelize and cartoon, and then comes the huge area of settings. We have white balance, ISO going up to 800 exposure value, optimization, camera resolution, which is a maximum of 5 megapixels in 4:3 or 4 megapixels in 16:9, anti-shake, image quality, that can be fine or standard, touch shutter, self-timer, burst, focus mode, smart autofocus, continuous or infinity, face detection, and then comes the video with white balance, exposure, video quality, it can film in Full HD, video stabilization, and then others like smart brightness, review duration, camera, sound, location services, anti-flicker, power saving mode, set volume key as various actions, and a tutorial. Other than that, we have the zoom slider here. We have a special turbo option for turbo bursts, and then the shutter button, the camera shutter button, the video camera shutter button, and finally gallery shortcut and the modes. These are the capture modes that you'll be able to play with this tablet, and there's quite a lot of them for a tablet. We have auto, that speaks for itself. We have time rewind. Basically you take a series of shots and then you can rewind the shot. It goes like this. You can go back in time. If it's something that's moving, like a skater boy or a dog running, it's very fun to apply that effect. Okay, and next up we have HDR, panorama, night, selfie, beautification, miniature, or depth of field. Miniature is best used when taking pictures of monuments and stuff like that, while depth of field is made to enhance macros. Basically, what's in the foreground is enhanced, what's in the background is blurred. And then there is smart remove, all smiles, and GIF animation. We also have video options like auto, miniature, time-lapse, and finally there's something called Party Link. Party Link allows you to connect to nearby devices and share your pics automatically. And now let's see the zooming capabilities of the camera. This is it, about 3x or 4x. And now let's actually take a picture. As you can see, it's not the fastest focusing camera in the world, also not the fastest picture taker. And now let's see the result. This is it. It's a bit brighter than expected, as you can see, but the level of detail, I would say it's decent for a 5 megapixel shooter. Obviously there's noise happening here. And now let's see even more shots, just in case you're curious. I'm going to go to the gallery area, and have a look at the pictures taken with this camera. They're indoor pictures, don't expect much from them. It's a 5 megapixel camera, but it's nothing special, to be honest. So some toys, fruit, plants, calendars, mirrors, and as I said, noise is very well felt in these pictures. If you try to zoom in even a bit, noise appears. However, for the price and for a 5 megapixel camera on a tablet, I would say that the camera performance is decent. Obviously, the camera on this MeMo Pad is below the one of the Nexus 7 2013 in my opinion. We can also do a bit of editing. Let's choose something more inspired. So press this and then press this here. You'll see a bunch of editing options. So we got options for the faces like big eyes, blush, thin cheeks, and then we got the filters, instant latte, blue, lighto. Some of them are pretty cool. This one, it snows, it's actually very nice. And then we got the frames, then crop, straighten, rotate, mirror, draw, and then exposure, contrast, auto color, shadows, vibrance, etc, etc. Okay, this was the camera area. As I said, for the price it's okay, but it's below some 5 megapixel cameras I've played with over the past years. Now let's go to the temperature, because we also tested that. So here we go. The tablet achieves 38.8 degrees Celsius after playing 15 minutes of Riptide Gp2. In case you're wondering why the tablet looks different in some of the pictures, it's exactly the same tablet as this one. We have two of them, but one of them is the LTE version. So once again, there is no overheating as shown here. Now let's discuss the web browsing experience. So we go to the web browser, to the ASUS website. There is a very comfy keyboard here, as you can see, pretty well spaced, and we go to Tablet-News.com. Loads up very fast, no problem here. Easy to scroll, pinch to zoom without a hassle, and the landscape view is just great. So we're done with the browser, we move forward to the software experience. And as you probably guessed, we're running Android here, obviously. It's Android 4.4.2 with Zen UI on top, and Zen UI means a flat and minimalistic user interface, but also a very intuitive one, pretty fast one, and with some welcome features. And now we skip to the benchmarks, but before we go to the benchmarks, let's do some boosting and cleaning of the cache and RAM. Okay, we're done. Going back to the gallery and going to the screenshots area, and now we're going to talk benchmarks. So as you can see, we did all the famous benchmarks here, from quadrant to Antutu, speed test and such. This is the ASUS ME572C. I compared it to its sort of predecessor, the ASUS MeMo Pad HD7, to the LG G-Pad 8.3 and to the Nexus 7 2013, but I also threw in some minor comparisons with the Xiaomi Mi Pad and the iPad mini Retina. So here we go. This is quadrant, where we scored 14,251 points. We beat the ASUS MeMo Pad HD7 and it's 3,900 points. We beat the LG G-Pad 8.3 and it's 12,000 points, and we beat the Nexus 7 2013 and it's 4,700 points. In Antutu, a very good score, almost 40,000 on the dot. We beat the ASUS MeMo Pad HD7 and it's 12,400 points. We also beat the LG G-Pad 8.3 and it's 21,816 points. And finally we beat the Nexus 7 2013 and it's 20,000 points. Next up, Nenamar 2, 60.8 frames per second. This beats the 46 frames of the MeMo Pad HD7, the 59 frames of the LG G-Pad 8.3 and the 58.6 frames per second of the Nexus 7 from last year. This is Velamo HTML test. Applied to Chrome, 2451. It beats the MeMo Pad by 1000 points. It almost beats the LG G-Pad 8.3 that ran a different version of the test and achieved 2500. And meanwhile we beat the Nexus 7 2013 by about 900 points or so. Next up, 3D Mark. We scored a very impressive 18,717 points. We beat the ASUS MeMo Pad HD7 and it's 3,162 points. We also beat the LG G-Pad 8.3 that scored 9,400 points, and we beat the Nexus 7 from last year and it's 7,167 points. Next up, Geekbench 3. In the single core test we got 775 and in the multi-core one 2372. And this one is actually pretty impressive, even compared to an iPad mini Retina, for example, as you'll see later on. And in the GFX text, we scored 30.8 frames per second in the T-Rex off-screen test, which is actually better than the performance of the iPad mini Retina by a few frames. Next up, speed test, 20 mega per second in download, 19 in upload, and this one, the upload is actually about 10 mega per second better than the Xiaomi Mi Pad. Finally, browser mark 1235, while the MeMo Pad HD7 scored 2186, the LG G-Pad 8.3 2679, and the Nexus 7 2013 2095. Both those were different versions of browser mark. And here we are, 657 in SunSpider, not a very good score. The iPads tend to score 400, for example, and the lower the better. I should also mention that this model beats the Xiaomi Mi Pad, which is a very powerful tablet. It beats it in Antutu. While we score 40,000 points, the Xiaomi Mi Pad scores 39k, and while we score 60 frames per second, that model scores 59 frames, so we beat even very powerful tablets. This means that the tablet has a very powerful hardware, and I must also mention that this model beats the iPad mini Retina in 3D Mark by 4,000 points, very impressive, and it also beats it in GFX by about 4 frames per second, yet again impressive. If you consider that the iPad mini Retina, it's still pretty much a flagship among 7 to 8 inch slates. So the tablet is very good, it lacks lag, and just for comparison's sake, the results of the benchmarks are pretty similar to the ones of the ASUS PhonePad 7 FE375CG that we recently tested. And since I mentioned it doesn't have lag and it runs 3D games perfectly without hassle or without problems, let's actually try the famous Riptide Gp2. That's our benchmark game here at Tablet-News.com. Here we go, should run with no problem. 3D graphics and all, splash effects, speed effects and more. Okay, continue, just play the tutorial to check out the beautiful effects. And here we go. Now we use the brake, and now we proceed further. We pull the stunt, and now you can see the beautiful water effects, and the tutorial is done. Now let's try one more race to get a better view of the graphics. We always use Riptide Gp2 because it's a benchmark game, it has 3D graphics, it has splash effects, it has fast action, and it looks great even after, I don't know, maybe 1.5 years or 2 years since it's been launched. Okay, runs impressively, there is no lag, there is no problem whatsoever, so let's exit it and discuss this device some more. Okay, now we have to discuss Zen UI applied on top of KitKat here. It's simple, this interface, and as you can see from its notification and quick settings area, it's very straightforward and reminds me a bit of the latest HTC Sense. The multitasking is still done via swipe, so nothing is changed here, and the drop down area includes two aspects. First we got this one with what's next, with notifications, and then we got a secondary aspect, the quick settings that include the likes of boost, calculator, quick memo, camera, auto rotate, connectivity options, smart saving, reading mode, instant dictionary, and I find the boost to be the most useful of them all. Then we go to the settings, nothing fancy here, everything you already know: sound, display, storage, battery, apps, users, power management, and ASUS customized settings, allowing you to associate the screenshot feature to the recent apps button, and reset quick settings, tweak your quick settings, and enable the ASUS cover. Okay, now let's check out the widgets. Most of them are customized, typical for ASUS, you won't find them on other devices. They look old school, they're simplistic and minimalistic, in keeping with the Zen UI interface. Some of them can be seen on the home screen, like this widget here, this one here. This one is extremely minimalistic, even Apple would be jealous of it. Another widget here, and this very useful one that cleans up all the processes. Okay, so that's part of the experience, the widgets. Now the lock screen. On the lock screen you can see those shortcuts here: camera shortcut, mail shortcut, and browser shortcut, plus the weather and time. And finally, what's next, what's happening in my timeline, in my calendar, taken directly from my Facebook account. And now let's discuss a big part of what's happening in Zen UI. The concept is called what's next, and you can find it here, just as long as I manage to organize the apps a little bit better. There's a lot of bloatware here, as you'll hear towards the end of the review, so right now I'm looking for what's next. I hope I didn't miss it. We hope it's still installed, we didn't lose it somewhere. And finally, here we are. This is what's next. It's basically a timeline of what's coming. It reminds you of all the important tasks or events. It even includes the weather. It creates a vertical timeline of everything you need to know. We have weather, we have a concert, and we have birthdays, and we have very important stuff that we got here. We're syncing this with our Facebook account, with our Google Plus account. We're displaying it on the lock screen. So this is what's next. The secondary concept here, aside from what's next, is do it later. What's next is meant to reduce distraction and only focus on your timeline, while do it later, let's see what that one does. Here we go. This is do it later. I have here a page that I'm supposed to read later and an email that I'm supposed to read later as well. You can take stuff from your accounts. So if I'm on the web page here, I can press read later and send my page to the do it later app. The same can be applied to the email. I'm in an email, I can read it later, and from what I've seen, you can even do that with a quick memo. There's a memo it later feature here, so you can remind yourself to pull a memo later. So that's do it later. You can add mails, calls, texts, web pages to the do it later list. Those two concepts, what's next and do it later, are the foundation of the novelty in Zen UI, among others. And now we're in that part of the review I like to call apps. It's just a list of all the pre-installed apps, and as you can see there are a ton of them. I complained before about bloatware, and yes, there is bloatware here. So 99% of these apps you already know from other ASUS devices. You have Amazon, we have Audio Wizard, browser, calculator. Here's the calendar, looking fancy in the Zen UI styling. Camera, Chrome, clock, contacts, data transfer. You can transfer stuff from your older device via Bluetooth. There is dictionary, always useful and even easy to access from the quick settings. Do it later, Drive, Dropbox, email, Facebook file manager, and Flipboard. I don't quite fancy Flipboard. Then there is the gallery, Gmail, Google Plus, obviously. There's Maps, Mirror, My ASUS. It's basically a way to get in touch with the people from ASUS in case you have some problem or something. Then there's Omelette Chat, there's Party Link, allowing you to share pictures with people, PC Link, that allows you to connect to your PC, and Mirror was on the screen to your computer, Photos, and the Play Suite, play books, play games, play music, and play newsstand if I'm not mistaken. Then Play Store, Power Saver, Quick Memo, very easy to use, very user friendly. You can change the color of the memo, color of the writing, you can handwrite like this. Hello, horrible handwriting indeed. And we move further, delete the note. That was Quick Memo, by the way. Then we got Remote Link, that allows you to turn your tablet into a remote for your PC. We got a Setup Wizard, we got Share Link, allows you to quickly share files with a nearby device. We got a Sound Recorder, ASUS Splendid, ASUS Story, allows you to create collages of your pictures, and Super Note, that I've always called a rival for the S Note from Samsung, but in a lighter version. You can take notes, there's handwriting, there's keyboard input, there's even some pen options here with various brush strokes, sizes, colors, and all sorts of nifty things. You can draw, you can color, you can paint, you can doodle, and as far as I know you can even insert stuff here. So let's see how. You can take a photo, picture from file, text, image, audio recording, video, text file, timestamp, stamp, or shapes. So you can create a truly interactive note, and there are also a series of templates you can play with, but you already knew Supernote from our other reviews, just a quick reminder. Next up, I got voice search, weather, web storage in the cloud, and what's next to complete a pretty long list of pre-installed apps. Now it's the end of the review. This is the ASUS MeMo Pad 7 in its latest version with a 64-bit CPU, a very slim and very elegant design, and now here are the pros. So we finally got a new design from ASUS. We've been complaining for a few reviews that all of their designs look the same. It's finally a slim, elegant device for a good price. We got good acoustics, a very good screen, very good battery, lots of camera features, a very nice user interface, powerful hardware, and sometimes it even beats the iPad mini Retina in benchmarks. On the cons side, there are basically, I would say, the 4 big defects here, so 4 only defects here. We have a long charging, 3 hours is kind of long, we have big bezels, we have bloatware, so those are 3 for now, and the 4th, the camera is not as good as the rest of the specs. Only 4 defects, none of them major, so this one is certainly a hit. So Tablet-News.com gives this tablet a 9.6 out of 10 for design, 9.5 out of 10 for hardware, and 9.8 out of 10 for operating system and user interface. The final grade is 9.63 out of 10. This is a very solid candidate to the title of Tablet of the Year, at least in the segment that goes below $300. The hardware and the design are close to perfection, with very little flaws happening here. So the final grade is 9.63 for this clutch-inspired tablet. That's it from Tablet-News.com. Bye bye.